Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another session. And this is my favorite session for the day, community led customer experience, just because I'm actually writing a book, Community Led Growth. So, this is really something that resonates with me. And I'm happy to introduce Jillian with the company called Zapier. Obviously, lots of you have heard of Zapier, and I am really excited to hear what you have to share.
Yeah, so I'm super happy to be here. And just for anyone who's wondering, it's Zapier. And if you ever try to remember how to say it, it's Zapier makes you happier. That is legit one of our company mottos, makes it super easy to remember. Most people do initially think that we're Zapier. I even did before I joined the company, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Well, with that being said, I'm going to jump into this. So I guess first off, I'll start with introduction. As Natalie just said, my name is Jillian Bejtlich, and I am the Director of Community and Help Documentation at Zapier. I've actually only been at Zapier for about 6 months, but I've actually been working in the community space for about 14 years, going on 15 years pretty soon. And I have been working in all sorts of industries and audience types, and I'm super thrilled to be here today. So, when I was trying to put together this presentation, I was kind of freaking out about trying to cram so much community stuff in 25, 30 minutes. So, with that being said, I'm going to preface this with saying that I am so happy to continue the conversation with any of you after the fact. You'll see my LinkedIn in the bottom right hand corner of all the screens. So, if I don't get to something today and you want to know more about it, let me know. But what I am going to go talk about today is why community is the perfect tool for scalable customer experience. It's authentic, it's trusted, it's highly scalable, but why and how is it all of those things? And how is Zapier using community? So before I jump into the what and what I'm doing as Zapier and why we're doing those things, I actually want to talk about why community. So why do we even have a community when Zapier already has an amazing support department and customer success department? Why do we have a community when we already have amazing help documentation that receives millions of views? And why do we have a community when we already have several large peer-to-peer Facebook groups already out there? Isn't that kind of redundant? Well, the answer is no. But to explain the why, both why community and also why I probably seem over the top passionate about communities, I'm actually going to take you way back to the start of my career. And way back, I was the person you called when your super expensive software suite didn't work. And pressing the correct order of numbers on your phone, correctly hold music, and the knowledge within my head were the hurdles to getting your work week going again. And it wasn't a matter of a little inconvenience or a nice to have. I was literally the one responsible for shortening office wide delays, rescuing your heavily damaged blueprint files, getting your employees back to work. I was also the one who had to tell you when I didn't have an answer yet, which is a terrible feeling. I had to tell you that your primary file was beyond repair, or even worse, engineering would be fixing the bug in the next release 18 months from now. I was the one who knew just how frustrated the customer was and how terrible their experience was. But I had an interesting conundrum. I was stuck between the needs of my customer and the needs of my organization. And I felt really helpless and unable to influence the customer experience time and time again. Now, I'm sure that many of you in the audience, you can relate with those pressures. Probably even just thinking about this right now, the whole concept of bracing yourself to a customer who's grown more and more irritated as the same three tracks of hold music play over and over, if that doesn't give you sweaty palms and a mild case of anxiety, I really don't know what will. So, as much as I'm a little bit scarred from my time in a call support center, I was also really intrigued. And this has led to a career in support and community because I really had to figure this out. I just couldn't let it be. Like, I'm one of those people. If you give me a problem and you don't let me figure out a solution, I will probably try to figure it out in my sleep at every waking moment because that's just what I do. I felt that there had to be some way to improve the customer experience without putting a significant ask on the organization, because that was one that they would likely reject in the planning stages, which would put me in even more of a difficult situation. And so I dug in and I wanted to know the answers to three really big things. The first one is if patience and kindness are rewarded with help, Why do we lose self control of our emotions and behaviors so quickly? We know how we personally want to be treated, and we know what behavior gets the best reaction, yet we always seem to forget about it and go totally rogue. The second thing was what drives these observed behaviors of impatience, hostility, frustration, and intimidation? What part of our brain is literally making us behave this way? And the last big question that has kept me awake for a long time is, can we do anything about these behaviors, both as the offender and the receiver? And is there anything we can do as an organization to mitigate these types of behaviors before they even happen? So, to understand why we're in this conundrum, we actually need to go on a bit of a historical journey into brains and technology. And so, we're going to go way, way back for a moment, and then we're actually going to go back even further. So, in 1965, Gordon Moore, who would later go on to found Intel, he observed that the number of components on a dense circuit board doubled approximately every 2 years. And that observation would become to known as Moore's Law. Now, to this day, Moore's law continues to be true to some extent. It's starting to kind of fall off the rails. But this means that technology is continuing to evolve and change at an exponential rate. And this exponential curve has made technology that much more accessible and abundant. So, 40 years ago, it would have been unheard of to have a personal computer. But today, more than 67% of the world's entire population, I'm talking corner to corner, has a cell phone. We all have personal computers literally in our pockets, in our purses, on our desk, whatever. And I don't need to tell you just how powerful these handheld super devices are. They give us access to a world of information in just seconds, no matter where we are. I pick up my phone countless times each day to look up where something is, how something is rated, how to do something, or get information from someone else. I literally don't even think about it now. It's just there, it's always in front of me. Now, I warned you we're going to go way back. There's a problem with all this exponential technology growth. We, as in us, the humans, we aren't really evolving alongside it. Our brains stopped getting faster, bigger, and more efficient a long time ago. I mean, we're actually not doing terrible. On average, our brains are twice as big as what we scientifically expect from an organism of our size and species. And actually, in fact, our brain size has tripled across the past 7 million years. I did warn you we were going to go way back. Most of that growth has actually happened in the past 2 million years. But if this chart doesn't tell you exactly what you need to know, still not fast enough. It actually makes us, the humans, the weakest link in this exponential growth curve. Yikes. And that feels like a really weird combination of terrible and wrong. We are the ones driving the exponential growth curve of technology, yet we can't keep up with that. And the interesting side effect of this is that we can't separate expectations of technology from expectations of human neurology, physiology, and biology. Now, let's just put this into perspective because I just kind of did like a big data dump on you there. Your cell phone has more computing power than all of NASA had in 1969. That was the year that the US put two astronauts on the moon. And if that seems too high level for you, too high level for you to fully appreciate, let's consider the computer on board the Apollo 11, which is that lovely thing crashing into the ocean. It had 64 kilobytes of memory and a 0.043 megahertz processor. My Apple iPhone 12, it has 6 gigabytes of memory and a 3.1 gigahertz processor. And fun fact, it's already out of date because iPhone 13 is out on the market. The reality is we live in a world where we notice our tiny handheld supercomputer is lagging just a little bit. We want what we want and we demand it right now because there is a world of answers at our fingertips. So I don't know about the rest of you, but does anyone else feel like this might be where the unreasonable expectations are coming from? We literally expect customer oriented humans to be faster than non customer oriented humans. So I'm literally saying, all of you on this session right now, we actually expect you to be better. You should be superhumans. Now, if you're quietly thinking to yourself, well, I'm patient, I'm perfectly reasonable. Think about the last time you called your credit card company, health insurance, or really any support line. When you heard approximate wait time is 42 minutes, but we really appreciate your call and the next available support agent will get to you soon, what did you do? Hang up? I would. Or what about the last time you sent an email to a company with a question and didn't get a response within 2 hours? What did you do? Go on a wild Google spree instead? I do. Or even better yet, the other week when Facebook and other parts of the internet kind of lit on fire and went down for hours, did you feel yourself getting angry and annoyed to be cut off from information? I was. The reality is that so do our customers. They expect answers now. And, oh, they also expect authentic and empathetic human interaction, not robotic, unsympathetic, maybe kind of sort of relevant answers from your favorite AI. Meanwhile, you, yes, all of you, the super knowledgeable customer experience professionals, are expected to be able to help everyone. But you can't keep up with the raised expectations of our customers if you can only help one at a time. In short, you can't keep up with technology and the insane expectations it has created. But you're a good person and you want to provide that perfect service to your wonderful customers. And that, friends, all of you lovely people on the session, that is where community comes in. Alongside support and documentation, community allows us to provide one to many authentic human support and customer experience in a really, really remarkable, scalable, effective, and cost effective way that lives a lot of lives. And because it's our communities, the ones that our organizations run, that we run, our customers actually have a lot of faith that the information in these is really accurate and it's going to be helpful. So instead of trying to meet the needs of millions of people at the speed of technology, communities actually allow us and organizations to scale impact and provide acknowledgement, assistance, and answers to those who need it. And with this increased ability, we're actually able to provide focused connection, empathy, support, and challenge to the customers who need it just a little bit more. Now, I know that all of you in this virtual audience are sitting here going, okay, cool, yeah, this makes sense. But how? And is the effort of what I'm suggesting even worth the outcome? Well, it is. And so I'm going to tackle this and tell you a little bit about what we're doing at Zapier. And I'm going to go in the order from the most straightforward and obvious to a little bit more complex in the short amount of time I have left. So I've worked with communities in all industries and of all types for many years. And no matter what you may want or think your community will do, customers always end up driving for a bit. And the Zapier community is no exception. The community found itself mostly dedicated to support and customer experience pretty quickly because that's what our customers wanted. That was literally the customer experience they needed front and center, and we delivered. Now, if you visit our community today, you're going to find thousands of posts just like this, which is a customer asking a question and a mix of peers, experts, and employees providing knowledge back. This is the most obvious thing you can do with a community. Next up is targeted content. So we have so much data at Zapier. It is incredible. We have dashboards galore and metrics collection galore. It's pretty amazing. And between all of that and knowing our own products really, really well, we're actually able to develop targeted content that gets to the heart of what our customers want to know. So we're not shooting in the dark, we're not taking wild guesses. We actually know what this looks like. Now, the way that we approach this is in a few different ways. First off, we do have formal help documentation. It's like a knowledge base. I'm sure many of you probably are familiar with those. But we also do a wide range of series on the community. So, for example, every single Wednesday for a long time now, we've done Workflow Wednesday. And this is a helpful guide to setting up automation workflows that will make your life easier. And since we know that being scalable and sustainable is key to our success, our content isn't just written by us. Once again, passionate users, experts, and other employees share the workload will enjoy getting their name out there. Now, the reality is that I could talk community for hours and days, and actually I could talk it for years. That's what I've been doing. But the reality is that I am down to like my last, 8-ish minutes. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, what we are doing right now, what we're doing in the future, and exactly how much of an impact community has had on our organization. So right now up on the screen, these are some of the current projects that we're working on and the things that we're going to be tackling over the next 12 to 18 months. Now, the way we got here was by building one heck of a foundation. This involved things like a community strategy, community playbook, the ability to measure the value of our community. We have code of conduct, we have moderation, we have a team, all sorts of really, really basic things. The cool stuff that we're doing in the future, these are things like community user groups, where we're going to be able to give our present and future customers a place to collaborate, work out loud, and actually find other people in their industry where they can ask really cool questions. To kind of give an example of this, right now, if you come into our community, it's because you have a question about a problem. It's support oriented. We're going to get to the point where you can come in there and be like, I'm a real estate agent. I use Google Suite. I need to pick a CRM. Can someone help me figure out which one to pick? We're also going to look at a proactive sharing. This is a really, really amazing project for us because we're actually going to be digging into predictive analysis to figure out what content needs to go public before our customers even know that it's a thing. And so, what this will look like is strategically balanced, you should know content and things that are need this now that really gets the right information and solutions in front of our customers. We're also looking into doing more user generated content. And what this is basically no hurdle pathways that will allow our users to actually come in there and share their best practices, tips and tricks, case studies, troubleshooting, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Now, what's really amazing about this is that when we allow user generated content, it is unbelievably scalable and sustainable and cost effective for us, but it also helps elevate the reputation of our users. I'm sure for a lot of you, you actually have people who are freelancers, agencies, partners, individuals that would really, really love to get their name and their knowledge and their offerings out in front of your customers. But more than likely, you don't want them blatantly advertising. User generated content is a really amazing way for both sides to win without any blatant advertising. So, kind of fun stuff. And the last big thing, actually, we're working on like dozens more, as community onboarding. And this is all about creating the structure, methods, and resources that will allow us to welcome new customers, employees, partners, developers, all sorts of people to the community and really maximize their experience. Now, just some juicy stuff to kind of close this out a little bit. Sometimes it is really hard to quantify just how much of an impact a community can have on an organization. But to give you all an idea of scale, the Zapier community has received more than 8,000 topics since our launch in 2020, with over 90% of these topics being support or customer experience oriented. So these are things that normally would have had to go to a customer success manager or a support person, but instead they went on the community. And because they did that, those 8,000 topics have been viewed more than 2.2 million times. And to even further illustrate the scale, all those topics and views came from over 300,000 unique visitors. And the reality is that our metrics are only getting bigger and better every single month. It is amazing to watch. Now, outside the quantified impact, we also have a pretty decent idea of the qualitative impact too. What do I mean by that? Well, communities actually speed up information transfer. Zapier community is always on. I am not. Zapier community is on 24/7, 365. I am not. And our customers don't need to wait for us. They can search for answers any time of the day, post questions at 2 a.m., they can help others at any point, and they actually do. It's pretty amazing. Every morning I come in and I actually see that we get questions throughout the night, and there are actually other customers who are helping these people all the time. Communities also help develop shared ownership. In the time that I've been here, Zapier community has been the catalyst to a whole lot of cross functional internal collaborations. These interactions help us find really innovative ways to work together and move out of our silos to the benefit of our customers. Likewise, we also see a lot of shared ownership outside of the company too. So, for instance, we have our experts. They care what's going on, they're part of these conversations, and it's really, really incredible to see that shared ownership. And last, for now, communities are remarkable in that they're an ever growing resource of collective knowledge. A majority of the answers in Zapier community have actually come from the community. And this means that they've been provided by other knowledgeable and passionate customers and experts and advocates. And that's not only high impact, but it's incredibly scalable and cost effective. And with that, I am going to wrap this up because I have just literally rattled on about community for 20 minutes straight. You probably can tell that I love communities, I love chatting about them. So, if any of you have any questions or you want to continue the conversation, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Also, feel free to check out the Zapier community, which is community.zapier.com. Feel free to swing in, ask some questions, post some best practices. I definitely hope to see you around. Thank you.
Awesome. This has been an amazing presentation. So many takeaways. My goodness. I do have a couple of questions. Can you share if you have like a framework or a blueprint, how you guys are using community for onboarding both your customers and your partners? And if you have different communities for just the customers and just, partners and affiliates, or this is like a combined.
That's a great question. So that's actually one of our projects that we're working on right now and into the future. Up to this point, the onboarding experience has been kind of universal. You come into the community, there's some information up that helps you get started, and that's kind of it. Right now, we're actually running a whole bunch of A/B experiments to actually see what's most effective, what really gets out to our customers, and they go, "Oh, hey, they're talking to me, and I feel welcomed, and I know what to do." At the same time, we're also working on different programs with our partnerships team to figure out what our partners actually need because their experience is quite different than that of a normal user. Um, so we don't really have a great framework for that, but I definitely will say that as we're working on this and we get more information, I am going to be posting some of our success stories to LinkedIn because I think that sharing information is pretty much a huge part of being a community professional.
How about any tools? What software do you guys use for to host your community?
Sure, that one's easy. So we use Insighted as our community platform. And what I would tell you is that there are so many different tools out there for communities. So definitely do your research, take a look around. Some of the big ones that I've used in the past that I really love have been Verint, Koros, Higher Logic, currently on Insighted. Those are some of the really big ones. There's also things like Vanilla, Lumaps, so many of them. So definitely take a look around. All of them are going to have different, features and functionality that kind of target the type of community that you're trying to build.
Got it. You know what? Can you stop sharing your screen so that people can see your face nice and big?
I can do that. There
There
we
you
go.
go. For those people who are just starting out with communities and they're like, "Hey, this is going to take a lot of time, so I need to put a lot of efforts into this." What would be some steps that you would suggest for them to um, get them started?
Yeah, so the big thing is when you first start out is it's gonna sound kind of weird. Don't assume that you know all the answers. You probably don't. You actually need to step back, go talk to some of your customers and find out what they want. What's the information that they wish they could get faster? What do they wish that was readily available? Once you figure that out, you now have a better idea of your member value. At this point, you can start figuring out your organizational value and then figuring out where the two of those overlap, and that's your shared value. Now, as far as actual setup, the reality is that you probably already have a ton of information documented in your organization. Go through your emails, go through your support tickets, go through what development's being asked, go through what your CSMs are dealing with, and target that information first. You can actually seed that in your community. You can actually write that in your community, have a back and forth conversation. And then when your customers hit this new community, the information's already there. You've already set the expectations of what this correspondence looks like, and it makes for a really, really positive start and just grows from there.
Or what would be some of the problems that you see a lot of, maybe you guys have encountered when you were either starting or growing your community? What would be some things that you would not expect that, just turned out to be?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like I've been in this career for so long that there isn't much that surprises me anymore. I think one of the things that always surprises me though is that people can sometimes act out in communities. And that tends to really scare some people away from communities. So, for instance, harassment, trolling, things like that. I've seen a lot of communities, leadership's actually freaked out and been like, oh my gosh, we don't want a community because something bad happened. My biggest advice is just it happens. It will pass. 99.9% of your users will be really, really positive. The other big mistake I tend to see is that communities will stand up and they will build it according to what the organization wants. It will be, oh yeah, we want a place where people are going to share, super amazing stories of how their tax season went. No one's tax season goes amazing. There's nothing positive to say about tax season. When in reality, the customers wanted a place to get support about the tax software. And that disconnect can really make a community fail. So that's why I mentioned about get to know your users, figure out what the organization wants, find that overlap. Don't ever assume that what your customers want is what the organization wants. That is probably the biggest mistake that I see.
Amazing, Jillian. Thank you so much for sharing this wealth of knowledge. It's been exciting to chat with you.
Same. Thank you.
For anyone who wants to connect with you, I think I saw your LinkedIn there and your email.
Yeah, so I have my LinkedIn. It looks like it's actually in the chat there too. I would definitely recommend just copying it because my last name is so hard to spell. I'm very sorry. But yeah, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to chat community at any point.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone. And we'll see you in the next session.